So we're here with Burt Reynolds, also known as Paul, also known as the Bandit. Now, for people that didn't have a telly in the 80s, tell us about your car.
Well, the film came out in '77, yeah, basically I bought this because I was 13 at the time, I think, when I saw Smokey And The Bandit the first time, and fell in love with the car. And the years went on, and then I was in a position where I could actually buy something as crazy as this, so I picked this up 5 years ago.
So is this the same spec car as in the movie?
That's complicated because the cars that were actually in the movie were actually 76 cars with 77 front ends on them, because the movie was filmed the year before the film came out, and so but Pontiac wanted them to be driving cars that would be current in 77. So it's very difficult to say that, because this is actually a 78, so this would be the year after the 77 car. The differences are the wheels are different, because in 77 they went from the Imperial size wheel to the Michelin size. So the 77 wheels have got a less of a dish to them, and they don't have these polished aluminium rims. A few other changes were the seats. The seats were slightly different, and the grille on the front is a hatched a hatch pattern on here, whereas the 77s were honeycomb looking. So little slight details, but essentially the 77 and 78 nose is this particular model of car.
So this is the graphic, is that on the movie car?
Yes, it was, yeah. Yes.
I'll see you've got the CB area as well.
Yeah, that was actually it's period correct. It's close to the one in the movie that we could get. I met a guy a couple of years ago, and he had one of those antennas. They're very hard to get hold of, and I said that if I could get hold of one, I would actually drill the hole in the roof and actually put the CB in and plumb it in properly with a proper rig. And he laughed. He said, "You're actually seriously going to drill a hole in the roof?" I said, "If I get the right antenna," he said, "I'll give you the antenna if you'll drill the hole in the roof." So he actually gave me the antenna, and it's there now.
So you've actually got the CB in the car as well?
Works,
so
yeah, although there's no one else that uses CB these days, so I haven't.
So you've got no one to talk to,
no,
but you've got the radio.
To chat to,
yes, it's kind of.
It's a modern
just
rig,
down there.
It's not the same as the one in the movie. That one's got full FM and AM radio, so you can switch between the mids and muppets.
Yeah. So what's actually under the hood there?
It's a like I said, it's either a 6.6 or a 7.4. I'm not entirely sure.
Wow.
But yeah, 400 cubic inch Pontiac motor. There was two engines that these cars came with. You had the 403 Oldsmobile and the 400 cubic inch Pontiac, and that's the one that this has got. Yeah.
So what sort of brake would you say that's putting out?
There's a lot of people on the internet that say this and say that because they've read things and that. There was two versions of this engine that was available. One had what they called a 2 BBL carb on it, which was supposed to be rated at 180 brake horsepower, and there was the 4 BBL, which was supposed to be rated at around 220 brake horsepower. But it's fairly commonly known that Pontiac used to lie about facts like that, because General Motors told them they had to have a car of a certain power, and so the 220s were probably closer to around 250, 260, 270, something like that. It's just Pontiac turned around and said, "Oh, we have to say it's 220. Okay, we'll put that on the."
So they kind of lied more for emissions traps.
Yeah. This would have had the emissions kit, because there's a little canister holder down here where there used to be a carbon filter for the smog equipment and that, which obviously, because over 45 years, it's all been taken off.
Yes. So did you buy this in the UK, or did you import it?
I bought it in this country, but I bought it off the guy that imported it from America.
Yeah, so I assume this was sort of perhaps California area with all the smog stuff.
This one came from, as far as I understand, it came from New Jersey. So it was a North American car as opposed to the Californian cars. It has had work done to it. There's a few bits and pieces around it, but then again, after 45 years, you see cars that have been sort of scribbled away in garages and never used for decades, but this isn't one of them. And this car's obviously been driven and had a few bits and pieces done to it over the years, but. It is what it is. I love it to bits. It puts a smile on my face. Yeah.
So have you been to any sort of Smokey and the Bandit type events with it?
Well, when this car came over in, I think it was 2018, the guy that I actually bought it from, he took it around the M25 when they did the Bandit run, and in fact this was the lead car that went in front of the Snowman lorry that year. After that, he then put it on the market. I saw it and bought it. I took it the following year to the Bandit run that was at Ipswich. Trying to think where that was, but. And it went there, got there, came back fine. I don't do that many miles in it, to be honest with you. I rarely get the time, but You know, I take it out whenever I can. Most of the time I just take it to local shows, or I just take it to Morrison's to go shopping, because it's kind of a bit of a gig.
So it is actually a daily driver?
It's not a daily driver. I've got more than one car. I mean, I could afford to daily drive it if I could afford the 9 to the gallon that it does around town.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably not exactly
no, you know, I take it out whenever I get
economical.
a chance, you know, I just love it to bits. It was a childhood dream. I always wanted one of these when I was a kid. I used to sit in the back of my mum and dad's car dreaming about having a Trans Am one day. You know, you fantasise about seeing one on the side of the road with a note from me from the future saying, look, you know, I've got it, or whatever. You know, those things that you think of when you're a kid. Well, obviously that's impossible, but I lost my dad 5 or 6 years ago, and I had some money to spend. This came up for sale, and you know, my dad would have loved it. So
yeah. So I noticed earlier you've got a I think it's an autograph from Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
actually is a genuine autograph?
I believe it is. The guy that I bought this car from is very
so
good.
yeah, we'll have a quick gander. This is
the gentleman
here,
that I
isn't
bought
it?
the car from apparently is a very, very good friend with the chap that does Gas Monkey.
oh yeah, Richard Wilkins.
Yes, and apparently he was the guy that sourced the car for him in America and got Burt Reynolds to sign the glove box.
So this is the actual car what was in the gas.
No, it's not the same. No, it wasn't the same car. From what I can gather, because obviously when I went to see this car, the guy told me a bit about where he got it from, and he told me that Rawlings was a good friend of his, and that he'd said to Rawlings, "Could you source me a car?" And I guess that because he'd recently sourced one to do his TV show, he knew a few good ones around. I mean, this is just supposition, but apparently Rawlings did sort of say there's one that's, you know, worth having, and sorted it out and got it for him. So
Yeah, so it's not the one what Rawlings used in the Gas Monkey show.
In the show, no, but I guess it was probably one that you might have seen at the time, or it was around that kind of
So he
era.
may even have driven this.
Hey, possibly, I don't know, maybe.
Or
got
tried
one of
the
these guys
cheeky
to go
offer.
and pick it up, you know. But you know, at the end of the day, the guy in the UK had a, you know, asked him and said, "Is there a good one that I can bring over?" He wanted to bring one over, and so this was the result.
So I noticed earlier as well. I noticed these earlier as well. You got these sort of nice downpipe.
Yeah, that's
rear
pretty much
exits.
how they work. That's all pretty much standard. I mean, obviously there's a lot of new bits on the car. I don't suppose it's the original exhaust system.
Yeah, I noticed earlier you've also got the clobber to go with it, haven't you?
Oh, I've got the cowboy hat and all the other nonsense in the back, yeah, and I've got the Trans-Am jacket as well, but I rarely wear it.
Yeah. Also, yeah, that's not an autograph, is it? That's just
That was a graphic that was done by a lovely girl called Lauren Seaman. She's on Facebook and she organises the Bandit run now in the UK, and she started doing those, and then everyone started copying her. You can see mine starting to come off now, because every time I wash the car it comes off, but there you go. I'll have to ask her to get another one.
Yeah, so if anybody wanted to find your car on the net, you're on Instagram or anything
I'm
like
not on any of that. I'm on Facebook, but not really with the car.
So it's kind of if they see you at the traffic lights, see if they
you'll
can keep
see me
up.
and wave. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm often about in it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for the chat.
That's all right,
Thanks for
thank
showing
you.
me your car, lovely car. And now the Bandit is about to leave.